Hello students, welcome once again. In the last video, we started the poem The Cold Within written by James Patrick Kinney, where we learned how 6 people died because they were not able to get above their petty mindsets to think about humanity. Today we will start from stanza 3. The next man looking across the way saw one not of his church and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Now the second person who is sitting in that group sees around and he sees no one of his church, means no one from his own community. Remaining 5 are from different communities. Next 2 lines read, and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The meaning of the word birch is there in your workbook. Birch is a thin-leaved hardwood tree. When the second person sees that there is no one of his church, he decides not to sacrifice his stick for the people belonging to other communities. This action clearly shows his narrow-mindedness and shows that he cares only for people belonging to his own sect. Now, the explanation given in your workbook. The second person looks around and decides not to put his stick of wood into the fire as he sees no one from his own community in the group of people. This man is again discriminatory as he cares only for people belonging to his own sect of Christianity. Stanza 4. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use? To warm the idle rich. The third person is a poor person and he is wearing torn and tattered clothes. Second line reads, he gave his coat a hitch. Hitch means he shook his coat. The poor man shakes his coat to warm himself, as we all know that it is very cold where these 6 are sitting. After shaking his coat, he thinks, why should he put his log into the fire to warm the rich people who are lazy, idle, and according to this third person, poor people are treated badly by the rich people, and the rich and wealthy, they enjoy life because of poor. They make the poor suffer. So, this was his opinion and he does not give his stick to the dying fire. Now, the explanation given in your workbook. The third person belongs to the poorer sections of society and therefore has his biases against the rich people. He, being poor, thinks that it is the rich people who are lazy and who make the poor suffer for no reason and live at the cost of the poor. Stanza 5. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now the next person, means the fourth one, is a rich man. And when this rich man sees a poor man sitting in that group, he ponders. Ponder means to think. So he thinks about his wealth, his riches that he possesses, and how to save what he has earned with his hard work from the idle, work-shy poor man. Shiftless word in the line means idle, work-shy. So the poet has used these words for the poor man. It is interesting to see that both the rich and the poor, they are not ready to sacrifice their firewood because both consider each other to be lazy and idle. So both of them refuses to sacrifice their sticks. The words like lazy, idle, they are used in stanza 4 as well as in stanza 5. Stanza 4, last line, to warm the idle rich. Stanza 5 also last line, from the lazy, shiftless, poor. So finally, the rich man does not give his stick. Now, the explanation given in your workbook. The rich man thinks of all the money and the wealth he has in his possession and thinks how he can keep it away from the idle, work-shy, poor man, who is always on the lookout to have the rich man's share. He thinks that he has earned the money through his sheer hard work, whereas the poor man is lazy and therefore is living in poverty, and he should not therefore use his resources for the sake of the poor. Stanza 6. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. The fifth person is a man with dark complexion, and his face clearly shows that after seeing the white woman in that group, he wants to take revenge. Revenge for the atrocities that he had faced in the past from the white people. He is a victim of racism. The second line of this stanza reads, as the fire passed from his sight, means as he sees the dying fire, still he does not give his stick, because in that stick he sees chance to take revenge. This black man is ready to perish, but not ready to save that white woman, because according to him, this was the correct time that God has given him to take his revenge. Now, the explanation given in your workbook. The black man's face makes it clear that he wants to take revenge against the white woman for the centuries of injustices that the black people have suffered due to the white men. Think about slavery in America, when blacks were made to work as servants of the whites without any remunerations and privileges. As he sees the dying fire, the thought of revenge comes to his mind that he should not use his stick to light up the fire, as its warmth will also be warming up the white woman. He sees the situation as an opportunity to take his revenge against the whites. Stanza 7. The last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Now in this stanza, the poet is talking about the last man, who is a selfish person. He is an opportunist. He believes in the policy of give and take. The poet James Patrick Kinney, for the group of 6 humans, uses the expression this forlorn group. Forlorn means sad, dejected, hopeless. So the poet calls this group as forlorn because all the 6 humans are bearing discriminatory feelings in their minds, though it is very clear to them that very soon fire will die and even they will die. When this selfish man realizes that he will not get any profit in return, he decides not to give his stick to light up the dying fire. Now, the explanation given in your workbook. The poet says that the 6th man of this sad group is a selfish man who thinks of nothing but himself and does nothing if profit is not guaranteed in it. He thinks that it would be unprofitable to use his stick to light up the dying fire to warm the other 5 people. Stanza 8. Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. In the last stanza, poet has used personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which a thing, an idea, or an animal is given human qualities. In this stanza, death is personified with stilled hands. All the six die with holding their sticks in their own hands. The poet describes it as human sin. Human sin because they all committed sin by not giving their sticks to save the life of the others. None of the six characters show any human quality. Last two lines read, "They didn't die from the cold without. They died from the cold within." These last two lines are very important because the poet wants to tell us that it is not the cold weather conditions outside, but the lack of warmth for each other that led to their death. They all were lacking the qualities like love, compassion, kindness, care, etc. Now, the explanation given in your workbook. Thus, all the six people hold their sticks tight in their own hands, and none of them gives their stick on the dying fire, as each one thinks about his or her own reason for not doing so. The poet terms this as human sin and ends the poem with the statement that these six people did not die because of the cold weather, but because of the lack of warmth in their hearts. Through this poem, the poet conveys a beautiful message, appreciating others, and we should stop discriminating the children of God on the basis of caste, creed, religion, and color. So this completes your poem. Hope you have understood it. Now your homework is to complete all the extracts given in your workbook. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, and be blessed.